The messages which pass from one nerve cell to another, or from a nerve cell to a muscle cell, or to a gland cell, or other cells, are transmitted by molecules known as neurotransmitters and neuropeptides. These molecules would be useless as messengers if the cells receiving the messages did not have receptors for neurotransmitters and neuropeptides. G protein coupled receptors, GPCRs, are the receptors for most of these signals, and they mediate the signals of the nervous system which result in muscle contraction, hormone secretion, sensory awareness, emotions, memory, and personality. A large percentage of GPCRs are expressed in the brain, and about 30% of pharmaceutical drugs target the GPCRs which interact with the signal peptides, lipids, neurotransmitters, and nucleotides produced in the body. While we often associate neurotransmitters and the GPCRs which respond to them with complex nervous systems such as those of humans, many of these can be found, or at least their homologs, in simpler animals or even with plants and fungi, none of which have nervous systems. So for example, acetylcholine is known as a signal in sponges, fungi, and plants. Cnidarians, jellyfish, corals, and their relatives, possess GPCRs which are homologous to the dopamine and serotonin receptors and the receptors for norepinephrine and epinephrine. The neurotransmitter dopamine is involved in the perception and pursuit of pleasure. It is involved in almost every type of addiction, and dopamine treatment can decrease addiction. Dopamine release increases sex drive, is a factor in orgasm, may cause premature ejaculation. Higher than normal levels occur during cocaine use, sexual activity, periods of increased sexual receptivity, and in response to testosterone. Dopamine has been used to treat Parkinson's disease, sex drive disorders, and its level may be increased in schizophrenia. Much of the feeling of euphoria associated with cocaine use results from blocking the reabsorption of dopamine. Although dopamine is one single signal, there are different receptors for dopamine which can be expressed throughout the brain and body. These are listed as dopamine receptors D1, D2, D3 through D5, and different individuals vary in the alleles of these dopamine receptors which we possess. The alleles which we possess may determine some of our personality traits or our predisposition to certain mental disorders. For example, DRD1 may affect the likelihood of bipolar disorder. DRD2 is a factor in determining our likelihood of becoming addicted to a variety of substances and our responses to living in an alcoholic home. DRD3 is involved in our predisposition to a number of personality traits, such as avoidant and obsessive personality traits. DRD4 is a factor in determining our novelty-seeking scores. In other words, the degree to which we would pursue adventure and stimuli which would release large amounts of dopamine. This is interesting because it shows that different alleles of specific genes can not only affect likelihood of disorders, but also of normal personality traits.